Differentiate between acquaintance and friendship. You need to discern and know when the friendship is over. It's a question and a rhetorical one, but I know in a day-to-day life, people never pay attention to this, but that's the exact downfall of many people. I know a person that got killed by his friend intentionally. In fact, today we are about to look at two life stories of people that got killed by the so-called friend. Differentiate between acquaintance and friendship. Is he or she your friend, or is just an acquaintance? Somebody who happens to know, somebody who happens to work with, somebody who happens to journey together, maybe towards the same destination, but that does not mean friendship. Differentiate then between that. And a lot of people died premature death because they did not differentiate between friendship and acquaintance. A brother of mine, from a brother to my father, I don't know how old he was, the brother to my father, but he had children. One of his child had a friend not far from where they lived. Having been friends from childhood, you know those memories, you know those type of friendship where people have been friends from childhood. We went to the same school. We've been doing the same things. We have known them for being friends for quite some times, and we have thought of them as inseparable individuals. But tragedy separated them. Because there come a time where the friendship is over, but we're not realizing that the friendship is over. We keep working towards the idea of what the friendship should be, or what this friendship must be, but the friendship itself is over. So one day, they were drunk, they get into a heated fight, and my brother decides, I'm going to do what we do the best, but today I'm going to be doing it to you. They've known of people that no matter how hard the fight is, they never give up on the fight. And one thing they knew how to use it well was how to stab you. But this time, my brother, knowing how deadly and dangerous is his friend, he decides that because we're fighting, therefore I will have to stab you first. Stabbed him, survived. Then these two families meet immediately. An emergency meeting is called between the two families. And my brother's family decides, in the compensation, or at least what we can do to compensate, is to cover all the medical expenses. So did they. This man goes to hospital, in and out, it does the checkups and all the stuff. Then they decide, the two, after hospital, it's about time we fix our relationship as friends. And so did they. And they began doing what they do together, began moving towards the same direction together. They began to do almost the exact thing that they have been doing together. And my brother, little did he knew that something was boiling up and a plan was maturing for this man to avenge. On a foolish day, he decides that today is the day to accomplish my vengeance. He takes him to a well-known tavern in the area or in the village. having been well prepared financially, on that day he buys him all the necessary alcohol he will think or he will need for a day in order for him to be as drunk as possible. This they did around, or the move, or this thing of getting drunk, it started around 2 p.m. all the way up to 6 p.m., half past 6 p.m. When he was that done, drunk to that level, my brother's friend decides it's about time to accomplish the mission. Pull up the knife, start the fight, and then he killed him. 7 times did he stab him. And where he stabbed him, it was clear the mission was to kill. It was not just to avenge, but the mission was to kill. He had wounds in his hair. Killed him while everybody else saw it. Upon the accomplishment of his mission, ran home. And home is just next to where my brother lives. These people were neighbors. He ran there while people were making their way to my brother's family to report that he has been killed by so and so. This friend had already been home collecting his clothes. Jump. Upon the collection of his clothes, get into a taxi, moved, and ran away into a different country for not longer than 6 months. When all of that has been done and dusted, he comes back after 6 months, and the family decides we're not going to avenge because this will not end well. Another story that was reported not long ago in the newspaper. These 2 ladies who have been friends for a very long time. This lady who was getting married decides that because we've been friends far too long, you will be the maid of honor in my marriage. But the maid of honor had an eye on her man. Seeing that there was a little bit of connections that was being established between the maid of honor and the husband to her friend, she decides we need to get rid of this. And the only way to get rid of this, she poisoned her to death. A day, she died just a day after wedding, but she got sick few hours after her wedding. Investigation discovered that it was this lady. In her confession, she made it clear she wanted her man. And one of the driving force here was, you can't get married while I'm not married. How so? How so? Why are you getting married when I'm not married? The question is, how do we know and see when the friendship is over? And when do we decide to step out of a friendship that we have nurtured far too long? Maybe it's a high school friendship. Maybe it's a childhood friendship. But the question is it still worth keeping? It is still worth nurturing such a friendship. Maybe it's time we step up and step out from it, because we are hanging upon the idea of what the friendship could have been, not on the reality of what the friendship is. Maybe we have moved from just being friends, we are now acquaintancy, We're no longer friends, but we're just acquaintances. Maybe one does not want to let go of the fact that it used to be, but it's no longer what it used to be. And the longer you keep hanging upon the idea of what it used to be, it's the more you are in proximity to your death, because you don't know what the other person is thinking. I remember once receiving an advice from a man whose marriage only lasted 3 years. He said to me, signs are always given, but we chose to ignore them. Maybe in the beginning it was good, and it was worth keeping it, but it's no longer good, so it's not worth keeping it. Maybe in the beginning this friendship saved you or saved you from a lot, but it's no longer going towards the direction you are going. Chances are maybe you're growing apart. Maybe the other one is far achieved than you are. It is about time you rethink this friendship thing. It is about time you think if you're still a friend with a person or you're now an acquaintance. There's nothing wrong about that. People grow apart. If married couple can grow apart in their 30 years marriage, then how about your friendship? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the fact that you have grown apart. But the problem is, do you acknowledge and accept that you have grown apart? Maybe that's where the conversation needs to be. You don't want to be betrayed by your friend, a childhood friend, friends of dreams, a friend whom you've been through a lot, but because the friendship was no longer there, they saw it fit to kill one another. Maybe it's about time we rethink our relationship with our families. Is it worth keeping it? I know family is thicker than blood, but maybe some family members, we are not meant to keep them forever. Maybe some girlfriends and boyfriends, we are not meant to keep them forever. Maybe some relatives we're supposed to distance ourselves from. Maybe it's about time we step out of the boat, because it's not going towards the direction where we're going. It does not represent who you are. Maybe it's about time we step out of that, because it's not who you are. You're doing it because you want to feel good about it, but it's not who you are. It's not what you intend to do, and it's not what you intend to be. Maybe it's about time we step out of the boat, get out of the train, get out of the bus. It does not go towards, it's not what you want in life. It's not going towards the direction you are going. Think about it. Being a man of principle, a woman of virtue, driven by principle and values, having to date a person that only provides you with sexual pleasure, nothing more, nothing less. What would you be doing, or what are you doing in that relationship? Why are you even considering the sexual favor if it doesn't speak to who you are, but it only speaks to what you need, or it only speaks to what you want, not who you are? Then why are you even considering that relationship? Some marriage grow apart, and people go through divorce after 45 years, and we question, what is it better? Is it maybe to stay for the sake of breaking the record but while not being happy, or it's better to divorce? Is it worth breaking the record with a person you're no longer in love with? Is it even worth your time? Why are you torturing yourself? For why? For why? It's about time we rethink who we are. And who we are should affect who we associate with. And who we are should affect the boats, the trains, the buses, the cars we're getting ourselves into. Because not every moving car is going towards a destination. Not every moving bus, train or boat is heading towards a direction. Therefore, it's about time we rethink all those things. It's about time we think first before we're getting into it. Is it serving my purpose of existence? Is it worth riding alone? Is it really a journey I want to be in? Does it serve my purpose of existence? We cry sometimes because of breakup, but sometimes we just have to appreciate the fact that it was about time, because there's this thing called relationship you have been fixating upon. It was no longer serving who you are. It is actually, sometimes it never was about the destination you're going to, but in fact it was about a moment. And when that moment has passed, and then it becomes useless and they dump you because you're no longer serving the purpose. It is about time we rethink. It is about time we think deeper about who we are and why are we who we are. Is it still worth keeping it? Maybe it's about time you get out of that and leave. But it's just a rhetorical question.